is like 30 minutes of Orious going, "Oh no," as he hears about this town that is not a paragon of virtue town.
And then those allies are criminals or unreligious people.
Yeah. Allies are all kind of in that. Oh, he didn't even ask like Turvu. I wonder if Turvu would have told him anything. We should remind Tom when he gets back that maybe he should also talk to Turvu.
No worries. Food.
Tom, do you want to know what you sounded like when you were going to get food?
No, he's not here yet.
He's not back here yet. Okay. I thought he was back.
There. Got my headphones. Now I'm back.
Do you want to know what you sounded like when you went to go get food?
What?
You didn't mute your mic so we could hear you when you went to go get food.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it was hilarious. Because what we heard was, fuck, fuck. I mean,
the
like,
first time we were going to prepare it sounded like a fucking war zone.
Yeah, when you went to go prepare it, it sounded like, at first it sounded like cooking mama noises, and then it turned into a war zone sound. I'm like, and yeah, we realized, number one, we forgot to press start on stream, so it's streaming now, and two, Orious never asked Turvu, who's going to be arguably the most knowledgeable about Cauldron.
Nope.
Orious is not interested in asking the former head of a thieves guild / cleric of the god of thieves who has no eyes and pour out smoke constantly.
No.
I think Turvu is actually the good guy too. Like Tonatium is neutral, right?
Tonatium is neutral. Derek is actually chaotic good.
Yeah, and I think Turvu's chaotic good too.
I think so. I can look it up.
I haven't bothered to actually level Turvu up in a while. I just know how many levels of cleric he has and what spells that means he has.
He would be a level behind it more so.
Yeah.
He'd be level 9.
He has, which means he has 3 levels of cleric. 2. They're 7 plus 2 is 9, not 7 plus 3.
Yeah, 5 in bard, 2 in rogue, 2 in cleric.
So he's decent on the heals. But yeah.
Turvu is chaotic neutral.
Oh, I thought he was chaotic good. Well.
No, I think he's chaotic neutral because Olodamara is either chaotic good or chaotic neutral.
Olodamara's chaotic good. He's probably become more good in his worship of Olodamara.
Yeah. So there were 2 chaotic goods.
Yep.
In Turvu and Dirk.
Yeah. 33. So is Orious heading to number 33 with Dirk in tow?
Yeah.
Okay. So this shrine is kind of in a neighborhood. There's a little garden around it. And it's this small, maybe 2-story yellow tower. Very plain, very simple. Not ostentatious at all. And it is in shadow. You can imagine, a couple times, most of the day it would be in shadow because it's surrounded on 3 sides by apartment buildings, essentially. But there's one side where it's open, and now in the morning the sun should be shining down. Except looking up the hill towards number 29, you can see at the top of the hill, on top of a tower there, a large spiral with a great big holy symbol of Ouijas, goddess of death and magic, at the top of the spire. Positioned so that most mornings, as the sun rises, it will catch that unholy symbol and cast it right over the shrine of Pelor.
You motherfuckers.
So yeah, the shrine is maybe this 2-story sort of brick tower. They've got yellow, it's painted yellow, it's not like naturally yellow, and the paint is peeling in a couple of places. It's lovingly maintained, but without much wealth.
Alright, we're fixing this.
And as you walk in, you can see in the center of the shrine is a simple, plain wooden holy symbol of Pelor. And kind of off to the side is another holy symbol that you've seen before, that you didn't recognize. The holy symbol that Tonatiuh wears.
Oh.
With the kind of the Aztec design. It's off to the side a little. And you can see a few people who look ethnically like Tonatiuh coming in, going to that corner, kneeling down, looking a little more fearful than people who worship Pelor should. And people who look little more like most people. Like, now that you've gotten up here and seen on the streets, most people don't look like Tonatiuh. Tonatiuh's a little bit darker skinned than most of the people. And the bulk of the people come right in. They do their when they come in, they do their prayer to Pelor. But there's very few people in here. There's like maybe 1 or 2 like Tonatiuh, and maybe 4 or 5 otherwise. And as you're walking in, a man will come approaching you, wearing a white robe, a kind of golden leather band that has designs very similar to the holy symbols that Tonatiuh wears that are off to the side, and then a large holy symbol of Pelor that contains a sort of orange gem in the middle, kind of buckling his thing up. And as he comes walking in, he goes, "Welcome to the Temple of the Sun. I am Christoph Jurgensen. Are you here to pray to Pelor or Huextleplochtli?"
I am Orious. I am a paladin of Pelor. And it's an honor to meet you, Father.
I assume all of your armor is shining with the holy symbols.
Yes.
Yeah. And he goes, "Well, I make a habit of asking, even though it's obvious. And please, I am not the father here. I am the, I suppose I am now, but I was, until a year ago, the junior-most apprenticed priest."
What happened?
The head priest, the senior priest, and the older junior priest just vanished one evening. I came to the temple in the morning, as I would, and it was locked, and they were gone. And since then I've moved into the high priest's chamber to keep the building.
I see.
So, a paladin then.
Yes.
Alec Tercival is the other paladin in town. He is associated with the Church of St. Cuthbert.
He's the one I know, correct?
Yes.
I know him. I met him years ago. He's actually the one who set me on this path before.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. We don't have very many worshippers of Pelor and Cauldron.
Yet.
Well, most of the people who come to the temple are traditional Olmec people who offer sacrifices to Huextleplochtli who represents the negative aspects of the sun. And a lot of them have come to accept Pelor as a sort of mirror image of their traditional god, representing the positive of the sun.
I'm going to look down at my hand for a second before looking back at him. There is something I can offer that might be able to call more followers to Pelor's light.
Oh?
Are there any followers who have died recently or have had family who passed away within the last 9 to 10 days?
Well, the last 9 to 10 days, no. We're a small congregation, mostly fairly young. There's one individual, it was about 6 months ago, lost someone very important to him. He's one of my more regular donors. To be honest, we're not a very wealthy congregation. It's mostly his quiet donations that keep the place upright. But I thought it was a little odd, but everyone knows that Tonatium truly loved that cat.
Causes? Tonatium?
Yes, he's a very standoffish gentleman, a wizard.
I know him. I adventured with him. He's the one who brought me here.
Well, he kind of...
Deadpan.
He puts his hand on your shoulder. Have patience with him. It's been less than a year since his entire family was convicted of treason and executed.
I see.
They were rightly convicted. They had left him out of the loop to protect their interests in case they failed, but I imagine he's a little bitter.
Not slightly. I can understand that for a little bit.
That said, we have had some growth in our congregation because of him. I don't know if you've heard, very recently there was a monster attack in the streets, and he single-handedly used magic to subdue and slay the beast.
Do a little huff. I wouldn't say single-handedly, but yeah.
No, I've seen what he can do. He's quite powerful. Quite the ally to have.
Yes. Well, I look forward to having you in the congregation. We have services at... normally we would have the services at noon, but since the Temple of Ouijas built their new addition, it's about 1 in the afternoon that we get direct sunlight, so we've pushed the services back to 12:50.
So, there's 2 things I want to, there's one thing I want to let you know first, and there's a second thing that, I want to give to you. The first is, if any of your followers or if anyone passes away, try to let me know as soon as you can. I can call back the dead with no cost or anything.
Yeah, so when you say that, you get a kind of, there's that record scratch moment, and like all the 3 or 4 people stop and turn, and he goes, "What do you mean you can recall the dead without a cost?"
I don't need any material components for my magic. I can just channel the light of Pelor and call them back. I'll be weakened for about a day, but after that, I'll be good to go. And I can do it again the day after. 1 person per day.
Well, does it have to be... I imagine it's only people who've passed unnaturally.
Yes, within 10 days.
Well, that'll be a thing worth keeping in mind. Because right now, the only people who are capable of such magic are Calmus Vel and Embril, and they're both with the Temple of Ouijas, and they tend to be very firm believers in that which dies has died, and they tend to charge above and beyond for that service.
Yeah, well, they could go, pause this for a moment. Deep breath. I see. I feel like society, it was much more of a... He was much more used to expressing himself, or expected to express himself when he was angry or such. At least in a dignified manner. And here it's like, no.
You can see Jurgensen's like, yes. Like, there's something there that he's not happy about, Weejas.
Also, as I'm going to reach into my little bag of holding that I have, and start reaching around, and I'm going to start pulling out my money pouch, and I am going to give him, let's see, how much can I give before I give away? I got quite a bit of my gold. I'm going to give him 3,000 gold, probably in platinum pieces, because it would be easier to carry for me.
So as you just pull out platinum pieces, his eyes go wide, and he's like, oh, thank you. And then he's like, what? Like he loses his mouth after like the third piece. And here you are counting out 300 of them. 300 pieces. So he's just very wide. He's like, well, this is a lot. I don't think I caught your name. Orious. We will be able to repaint. We can probably purchase one of the buildings next to us to serve as a poorhouse. There's a lot we can do with this much money. Thank you.
I went not slightly. There'll be more. I plan to stay in town at least for the foreseeable future. And my plan, if I may be so bold, is to see this temple become the greatest temple of Pelor in the entire city, even if it is the only one. As I'm going to kind of glance over in the direction of Weejas' temple and just kind of glare up at it.
So to that he goes, well, we already are the greatest temple of Pelor, but be careful. There's an established political order, and we tend to be Olmec converts in the temple. We're not at the top of the political order.
Just kind of look at it for a moment. Yes.
That's the sort of talk that got Tonatium's family executed. Be cautious.
Oh, yeah, I feel like that's the drow nature of him showing right there.
But yeah, he takes the gold. He actually ends up immediately going upstairs and comes down and hurries over and speaks to this older woman who comes up, and then you see her come down the stairs with like a satchel and walk out the door. You get the sense that he's not keeping that gold on site and is taking it to the nearest secure establishment. Not really a bank. There isn't really a bank in town.
And I'm going to look over at Dirk.
Yeah.
So, Dirk, could you point me towards the forest area in town, please?
The forest area?
It's time to start something.
So you're gonna go down to Ash Avenue.
Yep.
Okay.
I want to look for anyone. I want to look for if there are any bodies that were left out.
Go ahead and make a perception check.
I'm going to ask Dirk if he could help me.
Dirk will help.
So, Dirk, you see so Dirk will know, generally people report bodies very quickly and the town guard takes care of it. But it does look like, but Dirk does kind of spot the leftovers of an unfortunate mugging gone wrong in one of the alleys. And knowing how things get done, this has to have probably been within the last half hour that this has happened. Otherwise, someone would have noticed and reported.
Okay. I'm going to lift the body up. How old is the person?
Maybe mid-40s.
Okay. I'm going to get them out of the alleyway. I'm going to make sure we're in sight of some people so they can see this.
Okay. Well,
And then...
as you come out carrying a body, a couple of people like whisper to one another, and one goes, "I'll go," and hurries off.
No, I'm going to call out, wait.
There's only one guy heading off.
Yeah, no, I'm going to call out, wait, to that person.
And the other people are like, "He's dead, we're getting the guard."
No, you don't need to. I'm going to set the body down, rest my hands on it.
The guy's going, and everyone is looking at you very suspiciously, like, "What do you mean you don't need the guard?"
I call you back. Live. And I'm going to cast Raise Dead.
Cool.
I share like 10 uses of my lay on hands into him. So there's just like a massive bolt of pure golden light. As pure life essence begins to flow back into the body and call the soul of the dead back to it.
And the guy opens his eyes and goes, "Oh, my wallet, my wallet." And this is like patting his legs looking for his wallet. "They stabbed me. They took me wallet."
It's okay. You'll be okay. Are you alright?
I'm alive. I'm not injured. Little woozy. But I just got paid. All my pay was in there.
How much?
It was 2 weeks. A good solid 12 silver.
I'm going to reach into my bag of holding and I'm going to pull out 10 gold and give it to him. Here.
And he just, his eyes go wide and the crowd's like, "What?" And you can see they all like you now. "Ooh, you have money." And he takes and he goes, "It's too generous. What do you want?"
Nothing. I may have stolen that from some, I may have taken that gold from some drow. Well, they aren't really around anymore.
He looks at the coins and goes, "These aren't Cauldron coins."
No. I'm not really from around here. I just got here, actually, today.
And, so he says, "Thank you," and kind of hurries off, very nervous about the coins for some reason that you're not quite clear on.
I'm just going to look at the crowd. I'm going to probably attempt a diplomacy roll, as I basically say to them, no matter where you are, Pellar's life with you. And so long as I am in this city, if any of you should lose loved ones, come to me, come to the Church of Pellar, and I will try to call them back for you. I can only call back one person a day, and I'll do this for anyone, if I can.
So there's
I'll go for a diplomacy roll.
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, that's what I'm good at.
Let's see how that goes. That's a natural 20.
Yep.
Yeah, people are like, "Ooh, wow, ooh, ah." And, as they come and go, people like kind of come by you and they offer to sell you, the various things they're hustling.
Just standing behind her, crashing comes.
Yeah, no one's really trying to give you anything, but everyone's like, "Oh, we have great goods for you to buy." But you can tell people are like, "Oh, hey." And you can hear, whispers of the rich golden knight of Pelor. And as this happens, a gentleman dressed fairly nicely in metal armor with a red cape, blonde hair, and a mustache comes walking up and says, So, I take it you're the Golden Knight of Palor.
Oh, look. I don't know this person, right?
No, you don't. But he does have a good like 7 or 8 guards behind him.
Detect the lineman on him, just as I start moving, or detect evil as I start moving towards him.
You detect no evil.
Dirk would know him because he was helping us. When he got here.
Dirk will recognize the captain of the guard.
I will nod my head.
And this is a good maybe 2 or 3 hours later. And if you're trying to leave, you're going to have to fight. Before this, you're going to have to fight through the crowd.
No, I'm trying to help out a few people where I can and such.
Okay.
I have a little bit of heal, so I can help out a little bit without using my lay on hands or my spells.
Well, people aren't as much coming along being like, "Hey, I'm injured" or whatnot. People are mostly like, "Oh, we've baked wonderful bread. Do you want bread?"
Oh yeah, he probably use some like gold or copper and silver.
Yeah. Okay.
And buy stuff from all the people he can.
And
Even
so
if he doesn't need it, he was still trying to give it out without actually giving it out.
So you're starting to get a nice pile of knickknacks on a blanket next to you.
Pinching the bridge of his beak, going, too generous.
Yeah. And Skellerin comes up and goes, Well, we received 2 notices in quick succession. A dead body, and then a knight raising the dead. And now my guards are coming back telling rumors about a Golden Knight of Palor.
I tried to tell him not to go yet because it's what I was going to do, but he left beforehand.
It is a citizen's responsibility to report any dead bodies found to the guard immediately. It is an offense worthy of 10 lashes not to. It's a public health concern.
I understand. I did not mean it to be as not to report it, but what I was going to do to return him back to life was why.
Well, I have to admit, that's an interesting question of law that will probably have to be addressed at the next meeting of the Lords. I'll be sure to request to be brought up. Nonetheless, I can see you're here proselytizing, and I have to ask if you have a permit.
I just arrived today.
All right.
I went to the Church of Pelor, but I was not told anything about that.
Did you tell them you intended to come proselytizing?
I mentioned that I was going to attempt to help increase the church.
Kristoff's not necessarily the brightest of men. You should have been more forthright. Fortunately for you, it's only a 5 gold fine proselytizing without a permit, and a permit can be acquired at the city government building, which the GM has forgotten where it is.
Would I be able to pay
the town hall
fine to you? Or would I pay it at the town hall?
The fine is to be paid within 10 days at the town hall.
I can do that, no problem.
In the
My
meantime,
apologies, I was not aware of that.
That's
I
fine.
out my hair slightly too.
That's fine. Contrary to reports, we don't get too upset about that here, but it is the law, and I do have to ask you to cease proselytizing until you've obtained a permit.
I can do so.
Very much. Very good. Ooh, here's an interesting thing. You guys teleported in. You didn't go through the gate.
Yes, we teleported in.
He goes, okay. Well, my men never saw you at the gate.
Tony C. brought me here. When he was, I ran as you can, and my companion here when we were adventuring. And they brought me back here.
I see. Are you here for a short stay or a longer stay?
I'm not 100%, I believe, a longer stay, but I am not 100% sure yet on my future plans. For the foreseeable future, I believe I may be here.
How did Tonatium bring you in? Like, I only say this because you very much stand out, and the guards at the gates would have told me about you.
Teleportation magic. To get back here quickly.
Ah. So you didn't pay any of the associated gate fees or taxes?
I did not know there were fees, but I'd be happy to pay them.
Wonderful. Why don't I escort you to the town hall? We can get the appropriate fees and taxes paid. Dirk? I'm sorry?
I'll nod. Okay.
He turns to Dirk and he kind of salutes him. Dirk? Yeah, he recognizes you. He knows you're part of the Forgotten Exiles. He's approving. So everyone's going to follow him to the town hall?
Yep. I like Thurston. He seems pretty decent so far.
Dirk is really whispering to Orious as they walk out. One day you have the head of the guard on your ass.
That's not what I was expecting.
Just trying to cause us any trouble.
That one I can't make promises about. I just kind of tap my helmet a little bit, just kind of hitting Dirk. It's like, you know what's under this, right? You know where I come from.
So.
Dirk's gonna look at you as a fucking bird.
So he's going to actually take you to the town hall, which I have a map for that no one's actually been to yet.
You remember, Kit, the Eric proper are like a more barbaric race.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You remember from your time going in that non-humans who are not citizens have a bunch of paperwork that they're going to have to fill out. But yeah, he leads you in here, where he will then leave and leave you in the hands of the bureaucrat who doesn't have a token. Unless he's over here. Actually, the bureaucrat is over here. Dirk hasn't met this bureaucrat. Tonatium would recognize this bureaucrat, but Dirk won't. So yes, when you arrive, you get led into a side office where there is there's a beautiful terraced garden under the window on the inside, very luscious. And tending that garden until you come in is an elven woman with white hair and solid white eyes, who turns to smile as you come in and sits down. Welcome to Cauldron. Captain Skellering says that you need to pay entry taxes and take the guest's oath. Is that true?
Yes.
Wonderful. So, as you're not a citizen, you're not eligible to vote for mayor, so we can bypass the poll tax. You're not a landowner, so we can bypass hearth and land taxes. Do you have any henchmen?
I'm just going to playfully glance over at Dirk.
Dirk is like, no, he's not.
All right. Do you have any swords, which are defined in the law as edged weapons 9 or more inches of length?
I'm going to tap the giant greatsword I have on my back.
She says, would you lay it on the table, please? Is this the only sword you own?
Unfortunately, yes.
Wonderful. She gets a scale and she weighs and measures your greatsword.
I sent you what I think I've come up with so far for his paladin code.
Wonderful. I'm going to not worry about it too much right now. So a greatsword is 72 inches in length. So that means that I have to do some math here because I have rules for these taxes that another GM came up with that are wonderful. But there's a little bit of math involved. Okay. And that. So as she weighs it and measures it, she goes, very well, and hands it back to you. For the sword tax, you will need to pay 42 copper pieces.
Okay. No problem.
Do you have any magical items?
Weigh his hand yourself. And sword.
All right, we'll need to take an accounting of them. How many potions do you own?
I don't use potions.
How many magical scrolls?
I don't have any scrolls.
Magical books?
Nope.
Rings?
Yes. I have my ring of sustenance that I wear.
That will be 1 ring tax, which is 5 silver.
Okay.
Do you have any magical wands?
I'm going to hand the wands back to Dirk. I was given some when when I ran into them. They were theirs, though, at the time.
She looks to Dirk. Is this true?
That's true. These wands do belong to someone else.
Tonatium was his name.
Oh, yes, Tonatium. Tonatium has already paid it. Tonatium is very timely on his magical item taxes. In fact, it was Tonatium. This whole tax scheme was Tonatium's idea, I'm told.
I'm going glass Dirk. I find I start liking Tonatium and then not. And then liking him again and then not. Is that normal for him?
Just wait till he leaves you being tied up by spiders.
That sounds like it. I'm going to pause later.
Do you have any... So your weapon is magical, yes?
Yes.
So that will be 1 gold tax for the magical weapon.
Okay.
And we'll need to make sure we register it.
Okay.
There's going to be a bit more of that. Is your armor magical?
Yes.
All right. That will be a 1 gold tax for the magical armor. Do you have any artifacts or relics?
What does mean in game kit? Just like actual artifacts?
Yeah, actual artifacts.
No.
All right. Do you have any magical items that have not been described?
Yes.
How many? And she has you present each of them in turn.
My slippers of spider climbing, my helm of comprehend language and read magic, and my bag of holding.
Good. She will actually ask you to put each one of them on the table as she lists them down in the document.
The only one I asked not to take out is my helm of comprehend language. It's part of my paladin thing.
She is going to be very insistent that you place it on the table because she needs to double check it.
Well, all kinds of ducks. I would glance at Dirk for a moment. One more taking out my helmet.
Okay. She takes your helmet. She looks at you. Her eyes narrow, but she still takes the helmet. Looks over it as she has every other magical item you've passed her. Makes a little note in the piece of ledger and says, and that will be 36 silver pieces for the remaining magical items.
And I will pay it.
So I need you to finish filling out this form. And she turns the form she's been writing on, which has a name and an address slot. Would you finish filling out this form with your current residence for the magical item registration?
your guys' address that I'm staying at right now?
Dick will mention the address.
And I will put that down.
And it is, I actually have one. It is 418 Lava. It's actually 418 Coal Alley. Alley addresses are rare. She kind of has a little arch of her eyebrows for that, but she makes the note. She goes, excellent. So you are a drow.
Yep.
So we will need to have a monstrous entities registration. She pulls out a form. And probably, let me double check, you are dressed as a paladin after all. And she doesn't even attempt to hide as she casts Detect Evil. And then she pulls out, and an evil creature's registration.
I'm not evil. I'm not evil. I'm not evil.
The magic says you are.
I'm not evil.
The magic says that you are, and you must therefore be registered appropriately.
I mean, I don't. There's a paladin who can vouch for me. Who's in the city?
Is there a name?
The paladin who sent me on my paladin ways.
Alec Tercival.
Alec Tercival.
Alec Tercival is currently in Red Gorge. Well, we'll make a note to ask him when he returns. In the meantime, we do need you to fill out both of these registrations.
Alright. One demonic curse, and your whole life gets ruined.
She looks up and says, "You're cursed."
That's why I come off as evil.
All right. We have an additional 5 gold tax on cursed individuals, and we'll need to fill out a cursed registration. Please list the details of the curse and any causes. This is for the public good. Cursed individuals tend to meet untimely ends, and then we need to clean it up, and that's expensive.
Start filling out the forms. So all this was Thomasina's idea.
Well, most of this new tax code was written by Lord Orious Valantru, but my understanding is he was given much of the inspiration by Mr. Tonatium over a dinner.
I see. Just out of curiosity, I feel like I have to ask, is there a tax for everything? I feel like you guys have thought of everything at this point. This is more just for my curiosity.
She stops and she goes, Lord Valantru's new tax code is absurdly thorough.
That being said, I do wish that came up with a better name than monstrous creature.
You can't really put non-human, otherwise, then no more ordinary races will get calendared as well.
Yes, well, mostly monstrous creature refers in the code to orcs, goblins, clearly non-humanoid intelligent creatures, and creatures of known evil societies, drow, Aarakocra, etc.
I will just state for the record, I did kind of piss off my people quite a bit when I left them. And probably left my trail of bodies as well.
She stops, and she takes a book out, and she starts flipping through. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. The tax for potential diplomatic complications doesn't take effect until next month. She just puts a finger up to her lips. Itch. The less you tell me, the better off you are.
I'm just going to nod slightly and just mouth thank you.
It's just like one day of here.
I understand now understanding a little bit more about that now.
Oh, the newspaper's very upset. There's a paper tax.
Where are all these taxes going towards right now? Are they using it for renovating the city to bring in more help out?
Well, I can give you the most recent notice.
Okay.
And she takes out a copy of the most recent tax
But,
notice.
no, as she's reaching for it, I'm just going to ask, is there a tax to have to pay to do this?
She goes, oh no. And if you'd come in through the gate, you would have seen this notice anyway. It's posted at each of the gates. And then underneath quite is just like a list of the new taxes that come into effect this month. And she says, for more information, you can submit a petition to the Council of Lords for a copy of the most recent budget. And then I skipped over the new taxes for the month because I didn't want to have to post all of it, but it is signed at the end. His Excellency Lord Orious Valantru, Chancellor of the Exchequer, serving Lord Mayor Severin Navalent of Cauldron.
Who's the Dark Angel?
I'm sorry?
It says, nothing is sure but the Dark Angel and the Remedy Collector. What's the Dark Angel?
Weejas. Death.
Oh.
Death. Yeah. Nothing's sure but death and taxes is what that is.
Oh. No. Anymore.
Yeah.
Just wait till I'm really curious to see what if the Cult of Weejas finds out what they're going to do when they start hearing about me. How did you just groan?
They're kicking the corner ground. My mind's going to
There you go. There's the signature that I didn't post from the bottom.
Okay.
And I imagine by this point Tonatium and Dirk have mentioned that the Forgotten Exiles are funded by Lord Orious Valantru.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get my helmet back on. I'm done signing all the paperwork.
Before he puts on his helmet, Dirk will curse him out.
I'm sorry?
It's like, squawk, 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 puts helmet on. You motherfucker! I understood the last two words you said.
Yep. And of course, Shen Shen responds in that same language. That's not very polite.
I just hate my helmet. I love this helmet so much. There was one more thing I needed to do. There was the form for proselytizing that the captain of the guard told me about. I'm assuming you would tell me he was the captain of the guard.
Yeah. And he goes, yes, proselytation form and a fine of 5 gold pieces for failure to obtain form.
Yes.
Permit. Excellent. She hands you the paperwork and says, I'll need you to fill this out. The question of whether or not to grant you the permit will be placed on the docket for the Lord's meeting this God's Day.
What day is that?
That will be in 2 days.
Okay.
And she says, if you wish to come and speak on behalf of your permit, you may. Most permits are generally granted immediately if someone doesn't have if someone in attendance in the Commons doesn't raise a concern.
Oh my god. Thank you. I'm going to look over at Dirk. We are attending.
Dirk's just like, why am I being dragged around?
Because friends, and this is what friends do for each other, so I'm told.
I have known you for exactly 3 days. I wouldn't consider us the best of friends.
It's longer than most people usually live where I'm from. So, I mean, we're friends.
You're just gonna stop.
And he's saying this actually just completely casual because, yeah, that's 3 days. Yeah, you lived a long time in the Gladiator. Good job.
And a voice in the back of Dirk's head just whispers, "Be careful. You don't need enemies when you have drow for friends."
Just gonna look around. Curiously.
Dirk's been a recipient of message spells before, right?
Nope.
No. Oh. There you are.
So, all the paperwork is filled out.
Yep. And
shall we?
the proselytization paperwork asks who you're proselytizing for, what's the reason, where you intend to proselytize.
To help people to increase the number of followers for Pelor, standard things.
Yep, and then when everything's done, you fill it out. She puts it in a different bit of paperwork, and you can hear her mutter under her breath. Sometimes I wish Tonatium had let that damned Were beat me.
Hey. Tonatium seems to very much like to protect people, even if he comes off as kind of a dick at times.
She goes, "Oh, you know Tonatium."
He's the one who brought me here.
Oh.
We're part of the Forgotten Exiles.
She looks up and she goes, "Oh, well," and she shuffles through for your monstrous form and your evil form and puts them in a different little thing. "I'll need verification from Lord Valantru, but these should be, foregone by because of that then. I'll hold on to the payments. You'll be refunded if Lord Valantru verifies your membership."
I'm going to look at Dirk. Please make sure you tell them.
Tonatium probably would have shouted on your way out, "Make sure you take him to Lord Valantru."
Okay.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to do all your showboaty business.
That's what I do.
She goes, "Well, have a wonderful day and welcome to Cauldron." And
So, shall we go meet this Orious and Valantru then?
Yeah.
What can we help this time? What's the worst that could happen?
I don't know, considering in the past couple hours you've been here, you've resurrected a dead person in the middle of a busy city street. I've gotten the guard on your head and paid a shit ton of taxes.
I mean, all things considered, that sounds like a normal day for me. Actually, probably a light day for me. Nothing's trying to kill me yet. I mean, anytime that happens, trust me, that's great.
Well, I'm trying to find my Valantru token. Valantru, where are you hiding? Did I delete you by accident? Oh, there you are. Okay. So do you want to go to the Valantru map, or do you want to just do it on the Cauldron map?
I'm fine with either or.
You know what? This is going to be your first time with Valantru, so let's do the Welcome to Valantru's place. So, Lord Valantru's Manor is 34 on the map.
34. Oh, on the other side of the city.
Yes, it's one of the big manor houses of the lords.
Okay.
And
are we accosted by anyone, or are anyone looking at us as we're going across the city?
well, that sounds like a great roll me a D100 roll. No, you're not. It turns out that the city's actually pretty orderly.
Okay.
Folk are pretty chill. So, as you approach Lord Valantru's, there's actually something new in front of his door that you would not have seen before. Dirk. Orious would not recognize the newness of it. Oh. That's actually very bad. Don't look. Okay. So, as you approach, there are a pair of half-orc mercenaries outside of his door, standing guard. And as you approach, they kind of walk in front of the door and say, "Halt. Who goes here?"
My name is Dirk. I'm a member of the Forgotten Exiles. I've come to talk with the Watcher.
He looks concerned. The other goes, "I know the name." And he walks inside. After a few minutes, comes out, opens the door, and says, "Please progress straight along the way. Turn left. Lord Valantru will meet you in his sitting room."
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can actually see that there's another mercenary inside. For Orious, all these statues are extremely ornate. Especially the four that are inside this room.
What do these four look like?
You've got a dwarven knight who seems posed to attack, shield up, mace up, ready to strike. You have a priest in deep prayer, a rogue who looks like they're in the middle of trying to dodge something, and a wizard in the midst of spellcasting, all extremely ornately carved.
How well are they carved?
They have extreme lifelike precision. The same is also true with the four that are in the crannies as you approach. But those are all in intricate suits of armor. And as you stand there, someone comes walking down the steps. "Oh, I don't know you. Hello."
I always have to take the evil up, unless I say otherwise, just to make sure.
Alright, you don't detect any evil.
Okay. I might nod.
He reaches out a very heavily bejeweled and ringed hand towards you. He's like got 2 or 3 rings on every finger, big diamonds and rubies.
I will shake his hand. Hello, I'm Orious. I'm a paladin of Pelor. I was with Dirk, and my apologies, I was looking at the statuary here.
Oh, they're wonderful, aren't they?
Very realistic.
Why, I'll send the compliments to my statue artist. These were the previous adventuring party before the Forgotten Exiles came under my employ. They passed away on a quest, 5 years ago now. I keep trying to get Tonatium and Tervu and Dirk in to get statues carved of them, but things keep coming up. It's very frustrating. I was thinking we could put them over here.
After winning a bit in the sitting room, they're going to step out looking for Orious.
Yeah, you can see Lord Volantra's coming on, and I was thinking that we could put them there, but the fact of the matter is, Tonatiuh is such a wonderful teacher of magic. I was thinking we could put the statue of him in the corner of the study, looking over everyone. I was thinking maybe ask him to make a pose, like that judgmental stare he does. Very wonderful. Dirk! It's great to see you! He comes in and attempts to give a hug to Dirk.
Dirk will run and give him a pat on the back as he's being hugged.
I have heard it was so wonderful that you managed to recover Zenith. It's a pity about his mind. It's unfortunate. I don't know if his father will be able to make recompense before he passes. It's so sad.
That's actually where I met them at when they were down in the Underdark.
I see. Dirk, is this a new forgotten exile?
Yeah, actually. That's what we talked to you about.
So I have a question. Do you keep the trend? I mean, Tonatium's Olmec, Tervu's got that whole eye thing, Dirk is a half-dragon bird. Are you some sort of monstrous abomination as well?
I'm going to reach in and pull off my helmet.
A drow. A little disappointing. But...
I'm a good drow. Gives a shrug.
Well, I suppose that's a thing as well. So I guess we need to make sure he's properly registered. Well, I'll take care of that. Don't you worry. Come. We're going to have tea. I will have tea brought in. Let's come and sit down nicely. Do you play backgammon, Mr. I've forgotten already. Orious?
Orious.
Wonderful. Yes. That's where I was thinking that Tonatiuh could go. The statue of Tonatiuh. If I ever get it made, we could. Because I never really have that many people in the study. We could take that chair out, have Tonatiuh glare over all of us as we're in the sitting room. Simply marvelous idea, isn't it?
It seems to fit him. From what I know about him, I find I love him and then I hate him. And it seems to go back and forth like a clock pendulum.
And then we could put you and Dirk as such strapping symbols. We could put statues of you to either side of the stairs, watching as they come in, and then the only question is what to do with Tervu.
Can I... Okay.
What are you wanting to know?
I'm sending you something good.
He's a nobleman.
I know. I know he is.
Yes, he's smiling, very friendly. He's been a very friendly person.
He seems a very nice person. I do like him.
Yeah. And as he sets in, a servant comes and pours tea, and he takes and he sips the tea, looking up at you. So, what brings you to the surface?
Pelor does.
Pelor. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dirk. Tonatiuh worships the very long name starts with an H. The dark side of Pelor is the traditional god of his family, yes?
That's correct.
So we've got two sun worshippers in the Forgotten Exiles. That's interesting.
I don't think the Cult of Weejas is going to collect me very much, so apologies if they cause any trouble for you.
Oh, well,
I'm
it
going to
should
kind of
be.
explain what I kind of did in the city a few hours ago.
As you start, his face just kind of goes pale, and he puts the glass down. He goes, "Oh dear. And you're not charging?"
No, I can do it for free.
Well, I know you can do it for free, but are you going to continue?
Yeah. There should be no cost to life.
Emberl is going to be very upset about that. So, while the Temple of Ouijas is not the most common or the most populous one here, St. Cuthbert is and Cord are the most commonly worshipped deities in Cauldron. The Temple of Ouijas is a little large for its stature, mostly because Lord Emberl is the High Priest. I would strongly recommend having a charge associated with this reincarnation business. Now, you can waive the charge, but if it's in place officially, then Lord Emberl won't feel that you're undermining his business propositions.
This shouldn't be a business, though. They're meant to help people.
Well, meant, not meant, all of that. The fact of the matter remains, Lord Emberl holds veto power on the committee for permitting. And I imagine you applied for a permit.
Yes.
Which means if Lord Emberl says no to your permit, it will require the consensus of all of the other lords to override it.
I understand. Politics. No matter where you go, you can't really make a mess.
Yes, it tends not to affect the citizens too much. But then again, the citizens don't generally go around breathing life into people and stepping on the toes of the wealthiest of the temples.
She keeps just kind of dig down a little deeper in his suit and sip on the cheek silently.
Dirk's like Kermit the Frogging that tea.
It's just like, I mean, I understand having to play politics and such, but I feel like this is giving them the finger for the whole unholy symbol business that they put over our temple. I've only been here for a day, and I feel upset about that.
Oh yeah, gosh. Yes, well, that was a personal matter between Lord Emberl and Roderick Farside. And it actually began with what you're proposing. Roderick Farside also had the capacity to do a great deal of healing without any material need, and would go and do it, and that cut into Lord Emberl's business, and the two started bickering. And well, then Emberl built the spire to smite Farsight.
That seems rather petty.
One thing you have to understand about Lord Emberl is he is an extremely petty man, and an extremely powerful man, and I don't just mean politically. Once, I want to say 7-8 years back, there was an incident, and I saw Lord Emberl look a thief in the eye as the thief was escaping from the Lord Mayor's home, and Emberl spoke but a word, and the thief keeled over dead. He is an extremely powerful and devout cleric of Ouijas. Very much in favor of her magical end. Just be careful. I can protect, and as Tonatium knows, I can protect the Forgotten Exiles from a great deal. But directly offending a lord... Tonatium's tread quite closely with Lord Taskerhill a few times before. I can't do much.
Dick's gonna turn to Orious. And even if your promises... Lord wants to take you from me if you bring that Lord wrath out of our heads.
I just looks very casually at him. I will follow my code.
I'm sure your code doesn't do it all.
I don't get to choose my code. This is the code given to me by my god.
Well...
I'll do my best.
Excellent. And I do strongly recommend, especially after the performance this morning, I imagine you are the Golden Knight of Pelor?
That would be me, yeah.
I strongly recommend attending this God's Day to reassure Lord Embrel that there is a nominal fee in place of, let's say, 7,000 gold, then you're more expensive than him on the surface, and that you only waive the fee on purpose in cases of extreme financial need. That way it will be clear to him that you're really aiming for the poor and not the wealthy. Then you won't interfere on his business.
Twitch slightly.
I
know this is still private, but I do want to interfere with his business.
I say this as someone who loves Cauldron and wants to see it grow in wealth and power and importance throughout the world. Please, try not to make things too chaotic. We just got over that whole criminal war between the Alley-Bashers and the Last Laugh. We've just gotten rid of the Goblin Uprising. We've just taken care of the kidnappers.
What's next? Demons coming out of the Nine Hells in order to invade the city and try to take it over with an iron fist?
We did have vampires.
Yeah, hopefully no demons. That's, well, if there were, we'll really want Lord Embrel on our side. He can probably walk down the middle of the room and wave his hands and banish them back to hell.
Actually, I'm going to pause. You seem very knowledgeable about the surface world. Perhaps you could help point me in the direction I might need to go?
Oh, I am very well traveled. I used to be an adventurer myself. Settled down here.
I'm going to tell Lord Valantru about what Pelor told me.
I forget what I told you that Pelor told you.
There was madness on the surface, or a sea of madness growing on the surface. There's something like that.
Go ahead and make a sense motive check.
Yeah, something else I'm good at. That's an nat 20,
yeah. So Lord Valantru's face kind of freezes up the way that people do when they're very nervous and trying to hide that something makes them nervous. And he goes, yes. I have heard of that. There are a group of elves who have come to the city recently who cause a little bit of trouble. They seem to think that a demon lord of madness who heralds the end of the world is on the verge of rising. It's a bit of a thing. The guard has had to arrest them on a couple occasions for making things too rowdy.
Demons, joy.
Well, there's no true sign of demons. It's just these two and their prophecy. My understanding, you might want to speak with Turvu. My understanding is they had an affront with him a while back.
Oh, not slightly. I would just look over at Dirk. This is going to get so complicated before we're done with it. I can just feel it.
Yeah, I hope making it less complicated.
Remember what happened when you guys were trying to look for a dwarf? Look what we ran into. Mr. summoned a demon that tried to murder you and took your sword.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Tonatium, that's right. Tonatium cancelled this week our normal lunch. He said he had research to do. So he's not going to be able to tell me how that went. Do tell me. I love hearing the stories.
I'll tell him everything.
Everything?
Yeah. He seems to be on the up and up, and Dirk seems to trust him.
Okay. He listens with great rapture. And, like, he's not, like, he doesn't look like a politician anymore. He looks like almost a fanboy at the new release of a big film.
I will try to ask him if he might know what that eye is, though.
He says, I don't really know. That may perhaps be related with what Tonatium is researching. If he's uncertain about something, he tends to hit the books, and he has access to both of the great libraries in town now, what with his membership in Blue Water and the Cusp of Sunrise.
Would you by chance know when Sir, I can't remember his name now.
Alex, first of all, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, would he coming back to town?
Oh, he should be back any day now. He just went to Red Gorge. That's only about a day's ride away. He's been going there. He's been going there recently. Very, very hush hush. Makes Captain Skellerog rather nervous, I think.
He's actually the one who got me into becoming a paladin.
Wonderful. Well, if I should see him before you do, I will let him know to track down the Forgotten Exiles and say hello.
Thank you.
I know that he's quite fond of Tonatium.
He's a good man.
Yes, indeed.
Is there anything else you might like to know, or that you might be able to help us with at all about the city?
Well, as far as help, what do you need? If I can do it.
Or if we could help you at all with anything, too.
Oh, no. You've done quite enough lately. You are deserving of some rest. Although I will say, when Tonatium gets his nose out of that book, have him come speak to me about rescheduling the art. Now that there's 4 of you, we're going to need to get that set up rather firm so that my artist can come in and make the proper notes.
Oh, no, slightly.
After all, you've seen how wonderful his work is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he kind of flinches a little and goes, "Oh dear, politics is coming up. I have to go. Please finish your tea, and enjoy my room here. And you can let yourselves out when you're done. Thank you again for meeting me."
Thank you.
And he heads out the door. And back to my token supply for the various lords.
So, I know you probably want to say something.
It's just enough. Look, Totem, go on.
Go ahead. Get it off your chest.
Well, I don't really have much to say at the moment. Just please stop angering lords.
Takes a slow, deep breath. I will follow my code, and I'll do my best. But, I mean, part of it might be me too, though. I will admit that. It depends on how much of home we might have.
And excuse me, I've been saying Emberl all this time. I meant Ike. Emberl is a different cleric of St. Cuthbert than the powerful one who's in charge. So everywhere I've said Emberl earlier, it's Lord Ike Iverson.
Okay. When you come from a society of chronic backstabbing disorder, kind of learn to hate it.
Yeah, I don't come from a soft, comforting backstory myself.
I fought in the Coliseum against monsters and other people. Trust me, I had someone who kept trying to poison me to death for about 5 years. That wasn't fun.
There's look over your eyes. You might not notice this. You might not know this because you might not be on the surface that much, but the air proper around Cauldron are known for being barbarians.
See, at least they're upfront about trying to stab you in the face, though. I mean, with the drow, it's all smiles and tea before trying to put a dagger in your back when you least suspect it. I much prefer people just trying to stab me rather than, well, drow things.
In any case,
it's a lot easier to know who your enemies are and who they aren't when they aren't trying to act like they're your best friend.
I need to make sure I have all my tokens gathered, and I forgot which one is the appropriate one from the Temple of Cord.
Dirk should be like, do what you will, just remember, if you anger that guy, I will kill you before he does.
Again, I will follow my code. So long as nothing goes against that, hopefully I can keep a handle on myself. I'll do my best.
Do you have anywhere else you need to go today?
I might go help out with the Church of Pelor. Other than that, I'm free until it's time for the meeting in like 2 days.
I suppose I'll help out.
Time to convert you.
Good luck with that.
And I'll drag you back to the Church of Pelor. There's work to do.
And you will work in the Church of Pelor for the rest of the day. Nothing of particular note will occur.
Let's see if I have that spell.
Unless you make it happen. It's a
I'm
sort of,
seeing if I have anything I might be able to use. Well, for the church.
well, I mean, he does say that he's going to be having some people come by to replaster the outside starting tomorrow. It's been in need of a replastering and a repainting.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell that Christoph is not entirely sure what to do about it. He's not a ostentatious type of guy. He's a, here's the quiet neighborhood church sort of fellow.
Time to get to work. Time to see what we can do here.
You also learn over the course of the day that Christoph is actually not a cleric.
He's not?
No, he was an apprentice when everyone else passed, and he became head priest by default. He is an expert. He is an expert.
Well, time to help out with people.
Yeah. Like and of course of the day, you see he's a very good pastor. He's good at listening to people. He's good at doing all of that sort of thing. But you can also tell he has some healing skills, but he has no magical powers whatsoever.
I will start offering my magic to the faithful to try to help out with things. Because I do have cure or remove blindness and deafness prepared. So I can do that once.
Well, there is one blind old woman who comes in, assisted by her son.
Then I will offer the stuff to them.
They'll be like, "What's the cost?"
Nothing.
Look suspiciously, let you cast it. She can see again for the first time in 20 years. She's very happy.
Yeah, no, I'm just offering my magic to those who need it. To the faithful who need it. Right now.
And at some point during the day, and let me make sure that I've got your tokens over here, because
I'm having Dirk paint the ceiling since he can fly.
oh well, the paint isn't going to arrive. He's going to have a professional crew come in.
Oh, okay.
They're going to be there the next day. But at some point, just towards the end of the day, regular business hours have finished up. People are beginning to come and go. Someone is going to come in who does not look like they belong.
Oh, so pretty Dirk has seen before.
Thomas Bell.
Yes. This is a very tall person in blood red robes with a mask who almost floats rather than walking.
Dirk's gonna curse under his breath, seeing him come along.
And as he comes in, Kristoff will go, Calmus, did you bring them? And he goes, why, yes, I received your payment. And he takes this little purse and opens it and pulls out of it a box maybe 3 times larger than the purse and turns the box. As ordered, here are 10 potions of cure light wounds for you to have in your temple. And Kristoff goes, oh, Calmus, you're wonderful. He goes, yes. It's such a pity that your master and my master were feuding. I hate that garish thing. I'm the one who has to polish it. And Kristoff goes, and it keeps the sun away. The flowers die. And he goes, have you spoken to the new bureaucrat? She's a druid. She may be able to help. He goes, I'll make sure to do that. And Calmus goes, wonderful.
Is it wrong that I'm shipping these two now? Yeah, I'm shipping them right now in my head. So I've been told by Orious, he's now looking at these two and just imagining them as a couple.
Yes. Well, at about this time, Calmus will turn, and with one of his unnaturally long and thin arms, with its unnaturally long and thin fingers, point a gloved hand at you, Orious. Is this the one that the city has been abuzz with today? The Golden Knight? Kristoff goes, yes. I should introduce Orious. This is Calmus Vale, senior priest in the Temple of Ouijas. Calmus, this is Orious, paladin of Palor, who ironically comes to us from the Underdark. That is delicious. He reaches out a hand to shake yours.
As I walk over to shake his hand, I might have Detect Evil up, just in case.
Oh, he's evil.
Joy.
He's a... Oh gosh, I need to double check.
How powerful?
I need to double check. You are detecting, because he is a cleric.
Mm-hmm.
You
By
are...
the way, for the bureaucrat when he detected evil, it was an overwhelming aura
Yes.
of evil.
This is an overwhelming aura of evil.
I wonder he has his spell going on me at all.
Yeah, he just has his hand out to shake your hands. But yes, this is an overwhelming aura of evil. In fact, this is a... Is this a... You need to make a will save level of evil?
No, because I'm the same level, or he's not super higher than I am, I don't think. I think it would be like 5 levels higher.
Your current level is...
10.
Nope, he is not 5 levels higher than you, so...
So
And you would not be overwhelming, you would be strong.
Okay. I thought level 10 it becomes overwhelming.
Nope, level 10 is strong. Level 11 is when it becomes overwhelming.
That's right, I accept that. Okay, never mind. Oh.
And it's you're at least twice your character level, so...
Okay.
We're not going to have to worry about that. But yeah, he reaches out a hand to shake yours.
Oh no, I didn't shake his hand because I'm trusting enough that he's not going to try to murder Trace.
It's very thin and bony, his hand is. And he goes...
What's the basic alignment of
Ouijas is neutral.
Okay.
So he just goes, yes. I think Lord Iverson isn't a bit upset. I wouldn't pay it too much mind. Most of those inquiries come through to me, and it sounds like you're dealing with the undesirable portions of the population. Which is good for me. Saves me having to deal with them. And you can see Kristoff a little uncomfortable with that whole thing.
I'm just going to say very casually to him, the rich and powerful, I will not make any move upon your territory with them. I do wish to help the downtrodden and those who desperately need it. I do not wish to cut into your wealth from those that can pay you for your services.
Oh, it's not my wealth. It's Lord Iverson's wealth. I have taken, not really a vow of poverty per se, but I do not keep any wealth. It all goes to my goddess. Save for what I need to complete my own spiritual journey.
That is actually very similar to what I do as well.
Excellent. On a related note, Kristoff, do you know where I can obtain liquid sunlight? And Kristoff goes, I would have no idea, Galmus. Pity.
Wait, could I create a Pelor about that?
You could, sure.
I'll try.
Is this so this would be a divination spell if you can do it.
Oh, no, I can't cast divination.
Okay.
You let me do it once before, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, that's a different sort of thing.
Okay.
Pelor has a mission for you, and so if it's related to that mission, like you can pray, just Pelor's not going to respond.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Liquid sunlight. I could ask Tonatim about it.
Wonderful. It seems that is the next thing I need for my process.
Pauses for a moment. Lich. Oh. I'm not saying that out loud, by the way.
But you thought it. But you thought it. He
Yes,
turns.
I thought it.
He turns to you and he goes, "Oh, not yet. But I do intend to serve my goddess for all time."
Mind reading. Nice. Not slightly. I mean, I can't really be against that necessarily.
Well, it's common knowledge that to become a lich, you must do very bad things.
No. I know you got the mind reading part.
Oh yeah, the mind reading. No, yeah, he definitely just turned to you and you went, "Oh, lich," and he went, "Well, not yet."
That's where it's like, well, I mean, I can't really give, at least he's upfront about it.
Well, I suppose I should be back to the temple to begin polishing the spire this evening. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a comfortable night. And remember, if you need funerary services, well, he turns to Dirk. If you need funerary services, we do offer the best ones. And you can see Kristoff kind of going, well, we're going to get up there. And Calmus goes, of course you will.
There's just another those Calmus with a black stare.
And he bows and leaves.
Orious just kind of gonna wave, just cheerfully. Have a good night. Before dropping his arm. As soon as he's gone, glances at Dirk, glances at Kristoff. You know, for an abomination against nature and a very, very evil creature, he was actually surprisingly polite.
Kristoff is very nervous and goes, Calmus is probably the most terrifying person in Cauldron.
As I said, for an abomination against nature, he's actually fairly decent so far, other than the whole overwhelmingly evil and trying to turn into an abomination against nature thing, but at least he's polite.
There's just gonna cross his arms over his chest. I just don't like the fact that people are trying to convert me to their religion.
Kristoff looks up and goes, oh, we're not trying to convert you. There's all kinds. Pelor makes the sun shine upon the believer and the unbeliever alike.
Kristoff, there's a return to Kristoff and just point his thumb towards Orious. Maybe not you, but...
Pelor loves you.
Kristoff looks a little uncomfortable with this. Again, he's like, I run a small church. I'm not an ambitious man. Yeah, he will actually start talking about how Calmus, regularly gets in trouble with the Temple of St. Cuthbert, not King Cuthbert, the Temple of Ouijas for, coming through and just donating healing potions to the Temple of Pelor when they had need. And that sometimes Kristoff will go and help Calmus when Calmus has need. And as someone from an evil society, you pick up very much that Calmus is trading in favors. And you pick up very much that Kristoff is not picking that up and is just thinking of, oh, it's the community helping each other.
Kristoff, you do realize what he's doing, right?
He's being a good neighbor.
He's trying to gather favors so he can call them in when he needs them.
Well, I suppose if you want to be very cynical about things.
Kristoff is trying to indulge. This isn't cynical. I come from a society of chronic backstabbers, believe me. I understand it when I say this. You learn to watch out for it, or you get the knife in the back.
Well,
it doesn't mean he's doing a bad thing, but you just have to watch for what might come after next, what he might ask you to do later.
Oh, well, he has asked on occasion for untoward things, and we just tell him no. Never anything illegal, but sometimes things a little bit shady where I go, I'm not quite comfortable.
Not slightly.
He's very understanding.
I'm guessing lawful evil is the enlightenment I'm getting from him? Or neutral evil?
It would have to be neutral evil, otherwise he wouldn't be able to be a cleric of Ouijas.
Okay.
So that should probably make you a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Because neutral evil is probably the evilest evil.
They're after themselves, and only themselves.
Well, not necessarily, but they can be kind of bad.
Well, so about 2 days, I'm going to be heading to get my, hopefully, get my,
Ray, leave that alone, please.
permits.
Yep. So is there anything that's anyone's going to want to do before then?
I'm just going to be helping out with the church most of my time, I think.
Okay.
I think there could be babysitting.
mean, you're not wrong. He probably... Just to make sure... he's not leading a civil war yet, right?
You're not angering people who could care for the state right now, correct? Okay, we're good.
And I have a question. Did you tell Christoph about the permit?
Yes.
Okay, he will also volunteer to be coming that day.
Okay.
So, is there anything that we're going to want to do before then, or shall we just fast forward?
I might be, if there is anyone who comes to the church to raise the dead the day after, I would do it. For a fee of 1 copper. No. For a 7,000 gold fee, but I decided to waive it in need for them and only take 1 copper.
So,
which I then donate to the Church of Pelor.
There actually is one person who comes during that time. A poor woman whose son passed away of a disease that they couldn't afford to treat. And she actually explicitly says that Calmus Vale told them that they should come to you.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. I would tell them the normal fee, but I'm going to waive it. And I'm going to do my shiny thing.
Okay. And
prayer.
He comes back to life, and they go, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And you can see that the woman has a holy symbol of Ouijas embroidered into her vest. She's not very wealthy. It's very clearly that she did it by hand, but you can tell that she's of their congregation. But I assume you do it anyway.
Number 1, to defend life in all form and to heal and restore life whenever possible.
Yeah.
You would do it.
But yeah, she's very grateful for you, and she goes, "Oh, thank you. I can't afford those fees. A copper is too little." And she gives you 5 gold as a, "Oh, thank you, thank you. I can afford 5 gold. I can't afford thousands."
You will not accept that because it would be rude not to.
And the son is obviously grateful to be alive. And they head out.
And I would have done it in the main church, so any followers who were there would be able to see it.
Yes. And a few followers are there, as well as a couple of Ouijas people who came with her.
Mm-hmm. Just slowly setting out the 10-year-old.
And being the first time that Christoph has seen this, Christoph is very impressed. Like, whoa.
Just slowly but surely keeping Dirk and
My servants never die.
And around this time, a little bit before when you're supposed to head out to get to the Lord's meeting, there's actually a half-orc mercenary who comes to this area, to the temple, who says, "I have a message for Orious the Dark from Lord Valantru."
Yes?
He says to let you know that he has received word that Alec Terceval is expected to bring business before the Lord's Council today.
Oh, sure. I'll get to catch up with him today. Thank you.
Have I don't suppose you can do anything about venereal diseases.
Yes, I can.
Well, how much?
I'm just going to walk over, because one of the things for my lay on hands is cure diseases when I use it.
This is the same day that you did the...
I have 2 more uses of lay on hands.
Okay.
I have 12 per day.
Congratulations. He swears he's swearing off the brothels.
And also, I will heal any wounds he has too.
Wonderful. Yeah. So he is better. He takes the little pamphlet that I assume you've started writing up.
Yes.
I'm picturing... I'm picturing something that's very New Baptist church in town.
I'm just gonna look over at Dirk. It's like, okay. I mean, you can take the paladin out of the drow. You can't really take the drow out of the paladin. I mean, I like doing good things. I really like helping people. But I also understand by doing these things for a much lower cost, I am therefore making more people like us, and therefore more people wanting to come to the light of Pelor. So I get to both increase the congregation and help people at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that.
Just like his head on his hand or what he's doing.
Yeah, Dirk is just spending the whole day standing there with his hand on his sword like, this shoe's gonna drop.
It's like, I'm not evil. I'm not.
Well. Oh dear, that's not lined up properly. I should fix that. I just found issues with the map that I need to fix. And the vision blocking layer.
So that's him. I versed him. He looks like an asshole.
Yeah, he's a guy. So let me shimmy you a little bit more. That also explains why you didn't see that properly when you came in. Okay, so I assume you just go and come to the Lord's meeting, which is extremely long and boring. Lord Mayor, yeah, it's a city council meeting. You've been to those before, I imagine, Tom. Yeah, they're not the most exciting things. But yeah, you see Lord Mayor Severin Navalent sit on the throne in the room. You see everyone file in. You can see all five minor lords, the captain of the guard, and the two large religious heads in the town, not counting Ike, who's one of the five lords. Dirk will know Genya Orious, the head of the Temple of St. Cuthbert, and doesn't Dirk do something with Cord? I forget.
No, that was terrible.
Askfelar Hrandlert, the High Priest of Cord, God of Strength, who is an orc, not a half-orc, an orc. There is an orc on the council.
I remember now. It's because Turbo worships Oladamara and his god are like...
Oh yeah, Oladamara and Cord are friends, that's right. Dirk will probably have seen, actually, Askfelar at occasion come into the Tomb of the Forgotten Exiles to visit Turvu, because like the two of them are friends.
Yeah.
It has not happened lately enough for Orious to see it, but Dirk will have seen it before.
Okay.
And over in the public seating area, which is only like these 4 chairs, it's only the 3 of you. Because no one else has really shown up. No one really cares. And they go through their meeting. They're discussing the logistics of handling taxes, questions of revenue and expenses, and you can start hearing some rather large figures coming out as they talk about repaving some of the roads and spending the thousands of gold to repair those, maintaining the walls, the fees for the expansion of the town guard to deal with the uptick in monsters, so on and so forth. And then the Lord Mayor looks at his little docket and goes, and finally we have a request for a new petition for proselytization from Orious. What's your family name, Orious, that you filled in? Or did you just write Orious?
Probably just Orious because he doesn't go by his last name anymore.
Yeah, so by Orious, are there any objections? And at that moment, the door slams open. And Alec comes in. And he just walks right around the table and shouts, "Turson!" And Turson looks up and goes, "Yes?" And Alec throws a gauntlet to the floor. "For your corruption, I challenge you to a duel in 4 days' time."
Alec, what are you doing?
Turson just stands up and goes, "Corruption? These are legitimate legal taxes." Aye, legal taxes that you're feeding in to that new second in command of yours and his mercenary squadron. He came to that position after the hiring. It's a matter of prestige. And Alec goes, "I have had angels speak to me of your corruption, and I will not stand it." To which Turson goes, "Very well then," bends down and picks up the glove. "I accept. 4 days' time?" And Alec goes, "Indeed."
Can we talk about this?
Alec begins walking out, and he stops and goes, "Orious. Orious." And he puts his hands on your shoulders and says, "Finally, justice will prevail against this rising tide of madness and corruption."
You heard that too.
I have seen it.
I'm going to whisper to him, Lord sent me up here because of that. He spoke to me about it and told me I need to do something about it.
He will lean in and whisper, "Be careful. It seems to be coming forth from a local group, the Forgotten Exiles. Be careful about them."
Real quick, I'm going to whisper to him about the demon of madness and everything.
And he nods. He nods. And this is not the Tercival you remember. The Tercival you remember was very calm, very friendly. This is a very stern, nervous, almost paranoid-looking Tercival. He goes, "Things are brewing." And he just walks closer to the door, stands up and says, "I will be in Red Gorge. I will return in 4 days' time." And he looks to you again in your eyes and says, "It's good to see you again. I know you can stand this corruption, but I cannot stand the taint of it." And he storms out.
Wow, he seems like he's done a 180 since I met him before.
Don't look at us, he's just as show as you.
I kind of glance over and whisper over to him, "Where do you think I got it from?"
Yeah. And the lords are all like completely shocked. They're especially Genya Euricus, this woman here. She looks absolutely appalled by what's just happened.
Are we allowed to like walk over here?
There's no one to stop you.
I wasn't sure if that was frowned on.
You aren't sure if that's frowned on.
Oh wait. I'll talk with Kirsten just because I don't want anyone to die.
So, as you stand up and walk around, Asfler shakes his head no at you. You get the sense that, maybe you're not supposed to go to that side of the table.
That's what I thought.
But at about this time, Turson, straightening himself up, goes, "So about that permit?" And Ike goes, "Well, I had concerns, but I've been speaking with Lord Volantrue, and they are alleviated. It is nice to have some overflow for some of the demand for people who cannot afford reasonable pricing. I have no objections, provided the permit remains upon the Ashway." To which the Lord Mayor goes, "The permit's for the Ashway. It's passed. Wonderful. Who's up for lunch?" And Lord Vilantru goes, "Oh," and just bumps out of his chair. "At the cusp of sunrise, they're going to be having roasted dragon." And the two of them go off guffawing together.
Mention of roasted dragon.
Lord Vilantru is actually going to lean over to you, Dirk, and go, "You should join us, roasted dragon."
I'll join you, but I feel passion with dragon.
Wonderful.
Look towards his shoulder and there's a bunch of black dragons.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Ooh, that would be awkward. Orious, you're a member of the Forgotten Exiles as well. They have a membership at the cusp. You can come as well.
I have a little bit of business to take care of first, but if I can, I will try to make it.
Wonderful. And everyone kind of is standing up, and you can see that three of the other lords were all for this. And then as soon as Dirk was invited, one of them went sat back down, like, nope, not getting involved with that whole thing.
I'm going to try to see if I can talk with Jenya and Kirsten.
Did Tasker Hill not like Dirk?
Tasker Hill knows that you're part of the Forgotten Exiles, and he doesn't like the Forgotten Exiles. So I'll just take everyone who's going to the Cusp of Sunrise over there. And Ike will actually come to you on his way out and offer you a hand. Not to shake it, but like, you know how like noblemen will offer you their hand for you to kiss it?
Mm-hmm.
He has that sort of demeanor as he comes towards you.
Makes it
Christoph will take it and shake it.
Okay, I was about to reshare the picture of the revolution has begun.
Yeah. Just as Ike goes, Christoph, you needn't worry as much. Vilantru got paranoid. I hope that your little shrine is doing nicely. Christoph goes, yes, well, we need someone to tend to the flowers. But I want to speak to the one who should be in charge of the shrine. As he pulls over.
No, I'm a drow. Do I have an idea of that?
You actually would, yeah. You don't know until Ike sits down and says, setting aside your ancestry, at which point you realize they probably all got a memo at some point.
Okay.
Christoph will go, I will leave you to it, Orious, and he actually hurries away, apparently very nervous about Ike.
Also, I feel like Dirk is suddenly, as he's walking, suddenly gets a very cold shiver down his spine as he realizes he left Orious by himself. In a room full of nobles and lords.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure Dirk was half drugged up by that.
Oh yeah. Vilantru is not strong. Dirk could have gone no. But at the same time...
Dirk is a strong boy.
Oh, that's true.
He's 120 pounds.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Dirk is probably the only person in town that Vilantru can drag off somewhere. But yeah, Ike sits down and goes, so...
What?
I'll sit down as well.
Power.
Yes?
It's respectable.
It is. Those who have power can use it as they see fit, and those who don't have power want it.
Those who can do as they will, those who can't suffer what they must. I agree.
Which is like, under his sound, it's like, that's not what I was saying.
I just wanted to shake hands and say that I look forward to your good deeds. I've heard you've become attached to Lord Philantru's little group of pets.
I ended up running into them when we were in the Underdark, and we may have ended up purging a temple of... What was the name of it again?
Builderpoop?
What?
We may have pissed off their god.
Did you
By
say
which I mean,
Builderpoop?
they sent a demon to try... The god himself sent a demon to try and abjure us.
Well,
That's fun.
I imagine it was not at all very enjoyable. Well, I just wanted to welcome you to the town, and hopefully your congregation will grow once more to put your head upon the Lord's council again.
We plan to make this Church of Pelor the greatest church of Pelor that this world has ever seen, if I could do that.
That's going to be quite some competition with Greyhawk. If you need anything at all, please speak with Cadmus.
Well, I'm just going to, as soon as he's gone, he's just going to let out a sigh, take off his helmet, put it down, and then head desk a couple of times.
And the second you head desk the first time, all four of these people who were kind of nervously talking on the other end stop and turn to look at you. And Ask Falir goes, "Oh, they don't like you damaging the furniture."
Apologies. Just dealing with that.
Ike's gotta stick up his ass a mile long.
I would have put it at least 10 miles.
Lord Ankin goes, "Tch, he's almost got as much of a stick up his ass as Tonatium."
I've seen Tonatium stick. But that at least the length of the moon.
The man laughs. "Yet you're working with him. You should leave them. Join my daughter. Her team is doing quite nicely."
Mostly they're the ones who found me first, and I don't feel right just abandoning them after A, I helped them, and B, they helped me.
Well, you can't deny that they do some good. I know that Jenya is grateful for them, and Jenya goes, yes. We all like the Forgotten Exiles except for you, and we know about your thing, but that's not the issue here, she says, kind of pointing at the table. Why did you accept Turson? To which Asphalar goes, competition, of course. And Turson goes, no. Honor. I am not going to accept accusations of corruption against the guard. Sitting down.
Can't we just talk about this? I can use the Zone of Truth spell, and we can discuss this without murdering each other.
Turson just kind of scoffs. Oh, murders and duels are punishable by life imprisonment. Duels are fought till first blood only.
I like kind of look at Jenya. I can't believe that was him. It's like he's a completely different person than who he used to be. The person I met was like the exact opposite of that.
Jenya nods. I've been worried about him for a month or two now. Ever since he claimed to have met the angels.
When did I start hearing Pelor's prayer telling me that?
About a month or two ago.
Oh. Crap baskets. Yeah, it literally, Orious just kind of says that, just like this slow, oh, crap baskets.
To which immediately,
to explain some things.
yeah, like Lord Taskerhill, Hronlet, and Jenya all just turn to you, and as you say that, and go, "What do you know?" And it takes a moment for Turson to realize that something politics has just happened, and he comes here as well.
It takes him a moment to know that.
Okay,
Politics has happened.
Around a month or two ago, I received a call by Martian were sweeping up on the surface and I was needed.
To which immediately Asfalker there goes, and the terrors it unleashes will boil over and wash across the world. To which Jenya turns and just looks at him like, what? And he goes, are you the only one whose god hasn't warned them about this? And Jenya's just like, well, I know that you're more powerful than I am, but no, I haven't received any warnings. And Asfalker goes, something's happening around Cauldron, and the gods are concerned.
There was something where perhaps Asfalker or Jenya, right now, Tuna Team is doing research, but do any of you know of the Smoking Eye, I think it was called?
They're shaking hands, and then Jenya goes, I know this one. The elves, the prophecy they speak of concerns the return of the Smoking Eye.
Yeah, no, it's back. We fought someone who had it.
They speak of the Smoking Eye as a person.
Yes, we think we caught him with someone who was worshipped as him. I'm going to give him the name that I was told, the dwarf.
Zenith?
Yeah.
Okay. Tursin's going to go, Zenith is the one who Tonatium returned to me. We reunited him with his family. He's been gone from down well, they left immediately to take him to his father at his villa north of here.
Yeah, no, he was the one that was in the temple. He was basically the lord of that place, one of them.
Oh my.
He had a big, in the center of his forehead, it was apparently invisible. But he had a big smoking eye that apparently let him see, from what Tony described, the future, or possible futures.
Asfalker goes, well, Turvu's got 2 smoking eyes that anyone can see, and that doesn't make him evil. I think this might be a bigger fella that we're talking about, and not just some dwarf. And Tursin actually responds, should I have a run up through, go through the guards? And Asfalker goes, it's probably a good idea, but keep it on the down low. Don't want anyone panicking.
One of the things I was thinking of looking into while I was here was, I'm going to look over at Tursin. They told me about a report that some of your guards arrested 2 elves from time to time that were causing issues.
Tursin nods. These are the same elves that Jenya speaks about. They tend to get drunk and proselytize without permit. I gave them the warning I gave you the first time, and then after that, I've been forced to arrest them, to have them arrested each time. It is the law.
Why is he so upset about? What does he think the guard is doing? I saw the newspaper, but I'm brand new here. I don't know anything about what's going on.
Asfalker just laughs. It's racism. And Tursin nods. Yes, we unanimously agreed to increase the power of the guard force in response to the kidnappings and the just general increase in monster activity over the last year. And the Blue Duke was in the region, and we hired his mercenary band as the supplemental force. It's part of the reason why we've needed to increase taxes. And that's what Alex seems to be upset about is, after working with the Blue Duke for a while, I recognize that he has some good skills as a commander and a leader, and have, for the duration of his contract, placed him as the second in command of the guard.
And he was upset about that?
That's what he came in here shouting about.
Dying.
Why are you dying?
Because Karen went to TM never get to do this. They can. I don't.
Nope.
Yeah, if Turvu were here, Turvu and Tonatium would be aware that he's the mercenary that was getting into town. Yep. But yes, he's just kind of, Turson just kind of shrugs a little. At the end of the day, have to accept that challenge. Probably lose that challenge. He's a better swordsman than I am. And then I'll have to give my position over to Alec. And then Alec will see fairly quickly that he was incorrect.
I see. There's no way to stop the duel or try to convince him that we can talk this out.
Well, if you want to travel to Red Gorge and try to see him, but if I'm entirely honest with you, things have been a little hectic in Red Gorge lately. Quite a bit of unrest. There's been a bit of unrest. And last time he was in Red Gorge, I sent a guard down to Alec to see if he could do something about it, and he wasn't actually in Red Gorge. I'm not quite sure where he goes when he's supposedly in Red Gorge, but it's not Red Gorge.
Would you want us to see if we could find him?
I wouldn't worry too much about it. A man's entitled to his privacy.
Not slightly.
And if it turns out that there is some corruption I'm unaware of in the guard, then this gives us a good formal way to put Alec in charge to root it out, without the Lord's Council having to express any discontent with my position.
I'm going to nod at that.
Yeah. You see that it seems that Turson's the only one here who's not terribly concerned about this. Turson's got kind of I'm going to get myself stabbed and then I'm going to have a vacation for a while. That seems wonderful.
I'm going to kind of look over at Asbooker and Jenya and just kind of subtly ask, you two don't mind that I would be proselytizing and helping those on the Ashwing, right? I just don't want to step on anyone but kind of Ike's toes.
Jenya goes, "Oh, I don't mind at all. I'm not particularly powerful, and since the senior priest had his head chopped off in the inn incident, we haven't been able to do that. So you're actually filling in a service we used to provide. So that's good." And Asfoker just shrugs. It's fine, but sometime you should come by the temple to wrestle.
That sounds like a good time. Despite being an elf, I know that Orious does have a strength of 20. He is quite muscular, and it kind of shows in his armor.
Yeah. To which Lord Ankin goes, yes, the wrestling matches are quite enjoyable. And Asfoker goes, aye. And I think Turvu's on the verge of getting some of his people to organize a good feast for us, the way only the Oldamarans can.
It's like one of Orious' eyebrows start twitching when he's brought up.
You can see Lord Ankin kind of looking uncomfortable too. And Jenya goes, Turvu's a very respectable young man. To which Asfoker goes, he's a thief. He's not respectable, but he's good nonetheless. To which Turson goes, oh, what do you know? And they goes, nothing concrete. And at this point, they're just like, we should probably get out of here. Who wants to sit around the stuffy town hall with the bureaucrats?
Time to go. I'm going to go wrestle.
Yeah. Jenya goes back to the Temple of St. Cuthbert, which is, I forgot where it is, because normally she's on it. I think it's there. It already has a token on it? Oh, yes, it does. Durr. That's right. This is that one token.
That's the pile token.
Actually, I think I know what I might go do.
Actually, we'll put Asphalker on the Temple of Cord while we're at it. Because...
What you plan on doing is saving dirt from the people who are eating dirt.
Okay, I might go do that before I go to it. I want to do when I do it. Because I want to see dirt.
Temple of Lordly Might is number 25. Where's 25? There it is.
No.
Yeah. I always forget the Temple of Lordly Might is up there on the outer ring because it's a really popular place for the rich people. Most of the nobles are followers of Cord. Yeah, so you're going to go to the chisel?
Yeah, I'll go to the chisel to bail dirt out.
The cusp of sunlight.
That's right, not the chisel, the cusp of sunlight. You don't know what the chisel is yet. I need to stop mentioning it. So we'll go to the cusp of sunlight. We'll have Tonatium in the library being like, don't talk to me. I'm busy. And then we need to get the rest of them in here. Is there a big enough table to jam everyone around? Nope. That doesn't stop us from trying.
Like I said, stick the size of a small moon.
There we go. I'm not going to bother deleting numbers from the end of their names. But we will have Orious come to the front door. Because we have another great role-playing moment.
Nope.
So, the cusp. I should go back and get this so you can... I can read what is written on the door here. So you can see at the, so you ask and they tell you where to go. And this is a fairly nice building, not super ostentatious from the outside. And there's a door at the front, and the door has just a simple sign on the iron-bound door that says COS members only. And you can hear sounds of laughter and music coming from within. Dirk, did you tell Renjin about Orious on your way in?
Dirk probably would have, using his sleeves many garments to change into a noble outfit to actually fit in more.
Yeah, because as you're getting dragged in, Renjin's going to be like, no, he can't come in, he's not dressed well. And you're like, Poof. And he's like, oh yeah, you can do that. Welcome.
Well, I said that Orious, if he ever comes in, he'll see Renjin doing everything.
Yeah. But yeah, so Orious, you arrive at that door. And there's a little bell on the side of it.
I'll ring the bell.
Okay. It's a soft little ding ding ding. And a large, slightly overweight man, great big mustache, bald, very ornately dressed, goes, yes. Are you wearing your helmet?
What?
Are you wearing your helmet?
Yes.
He just goes, yes, I don't think you have the right place.
I was looking for Dirk and Lord Launchu and the others.
He steps forward, reaches up towards your helmet.
I will slowly take my helmet. I'll slowly pull the plate of the front of my helmet aside, open it.
Drow. Dirk mentioned a drow. Yes. And as he walks around, he's considering you, looking you top to bottom. Is your armor like gold-plated and such?
Yes, it is.
He goes, excellent. Excellent. Very well dressed. Normally, I would not accept someone wearing heavy armor like this. That's a dress code violation. But it's so ornate. I simply have to say yes. Do you have any bows? There are no stags to hunt in the Great Library.
No, I do not.
Excellent.
Wait! Yeah, no, I don't have a bow.
Excellent.
Wait, no, I do have a bow.
On you?
I think I was the one carrying it, but I wasn't the one using it.
Then it's going to be back in base. Do you want to leave it out on base?
Okay, you got it? The evil bow?
Yeah, Derek gets negative level when he's holding it, and you can't hold it as an evil weapon.
I can't use it.
Yeah, you can't use it, so we get to start using it.
Okay, I wasn't sure who had it.
Okay.
No, I don't have a bow.
Yeah, the answer is it's probably at base somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, he goes, excellent. And he reaches over. He still reaches up to take off your helmet.
I will slowly take my helmet off.
No, he like, unless you stop him, he will reach up and grab your helmet and take it off for you.
Please be careful with that. It's a very personal magic item for me.
I will keep it in my desk, sir. Yes. Please come in. You will find them making quite a ruckus.
I will not head in.
Okay. Go ahead and walk yourself in.
Wait,
did I not bring you onto the new map?
No, I wasn't on it.
Okay. Well, I'll put the guy next to you.
Okay.
So you can see the guy you've been talking to.
Okay. That's what he looks like. Yeah. Alright, let's go. Dramatic flourish, because yes, we have a cape. I think that's what my folding plate allows me to unfold and refold my armor into like a little medallion I wear, or belt, depending on where I want to wear it at. And I imagine one of the parts that can unfold and refold back up into the armor is an actual like golden cape.
Okay.
With a sigil of power on it. So
yeah.
you can do dramatic entrances.
Yes. So, as you walk in, well, the cusp of sunrise, the main hall is 100 feet across, a circular tower whose inside is covered with bookshelves and iron ladders. There's a score of nobles kind of sitting around reading quietly. There's a small quartet up in this place that says 3 playing, violin concertos. And a number of blue-robed servants scurrying about from noble to noble, offering food and drink. And as you come in, you can see across the way where Lord Volantra's kind of pulled 2 tables together. Everyone else.
Let's slowly start making my way over.
I'll start removing the numbers from their names where I copied them.
I'm kind of very self-conscious that I don't have my...
You don't have what?
I don't have my helmet on.
Yeah. And as you walk, some people kind of raise their heads a little and go, Drow? Well, he's here. And you can see Lord Volantra stand and go, come, sit. And Dirk was just telling us about his duel with the flaming demon, weren't you, Dirk?
We still need to figure out what we're going to do with that bow we got from her. I'm going to say that to Dirk.
No, tracking on that, I'm not planning on using that thing.
I can't use it.
If we have a magical bow, I would not be opposed to taking it and setting it upon the wall above the head of the dining room. That sounds marvelous.
tell Lord Melanchu just where the bow came from, and it was a personal bow of a fallen angel?
Oh yeah, he looks absolutely enamored by the whole thing. To which the Lord Mayor, on the other end, goes, well, I might want that for my great hall. And Melanchu goes, well, I'm sure we can come to an agreement. Some sort of appropriate financial compensation. At around this point, a blue-robed individual will come, and I need to generate the menu for today because it's new every day.
And at the conversation, they go, so that wasn't the only thing that Fury dropped pulling out his sword, and it made it flame up.
To which there's applause everywhere.
Yeah, sadly she took my sword with her.
Well, that's unfortunate. But at least you have this one. And expensive. Poor variety. Fantasy foods. They go, yes. And this servant comes by and goes, what would you like, sir? Today's specials are red dragon steak with a side of boiled broccoli, pickled sausage with an artichoke soup, or a shepherd's pie with boiled leeks.
Let's go with the shepherd's pie.
They could also be eating shepherd's pie.
Yeah.
Looking nervously at the plate, anyone who ordered the red dragon.
Everyone else ordered the red dragon. And
I'm trying to show some deference to my friend.
And as they're eating the red dragon, Lord Melanchu goes, wait, didn't you tell me, Orious, that Dirk and Tonatium told you that they slayed a red dragon on the way in to the Underdark?
Yes, and we almost slayed a black dragon as well.
I think this may be your kill, Dirk. Are you sure you don't want to bite?
I call this hands pretty sure about that.
And then you'll also notice there's several bottles of wine around. The nobles, with the exception of Melanchu, all seem to be a little tipsy and are sipping at glasses of wine. Melanchu seems to be downing them one after another after another.
I'm going to shake my head to any offered wine. My con is like 7. No, I will get like insta-drunk.
They could probably drink a glass or two.
Yeah. But the food is excellent. Like, shepherd's pie is a pretty basic dish. But this is shepherd's pie with the choicest cut of meat and the best vegetables.
I was half expecting you to torture Dirk even more by having them maybe like 2 different variety dishes and like a chicken dish.
Yeah, no. The shepherd's pie, they will tell you, is made with the finest velociraptor meat. Because dinosaurs exist and are actually common near Cauldron.
Yeah. We ran into a pack.
They almost,
We ran into a pack.
they almost caused a TPK.
So, Dirk, when we're done here, I was hoping if you might come along with me. I wanted to see something.
Dirk will turn to whatever wants you. You wouldn't mind, would you?
Melanchu goes, oh. Well, I see that Tonatium is doing research. I just simply must know what it is. You have a wonderful day. And he gets up and goes around the way to go bother Tonatium again.
They will turn to the rest of the lords that have invited people to dinner was a pleasure to meet with you.
And they go, it was pretty nice, yeah. And the Lord Mayor goes, a friend of Volantru is a friend of mine. As he takes another great big bite of dragon steak and coughs a little, spitting out a bit of a bone that came in.
They both shudder. I'll be off.
Lord Mayor Laverant is morbidly obese.
As we're heading out of the place, I'm moving over to Dirk. I thought you could just exit from here. Comfortable?
This is the first good thing you've done for me all week.
Don't worry. Do you know where we're going?
Yeah, we are going.
With a great big smile after we get my helmet back, as I put it on, we're going to the Temple of Ouijas.
Back to the annoyance.
It's like, I actually feel kind of good about you right now. We're going to the Temple of Ouijas, and the feeling's gone.
Wonderful. Well, I don't need to bring you back to the Cauldron map because the Temple of Ouijas is on the locations map. So you can just waltz on over there.
Well, this is pleasant. Deep breaths, Orious, deep breaths.
There's a little notice on the door that states that the main temple of Ouijas will be closed for renovations beginning next month.
Okay. Well.
And advising that they're going to have their worships at a smaller building down the street while they renovate the grand temple.
So I think I will tell Dirk while we are walking here is, so, from what I can tell, Ouijas is like the talk of the town and the big shops. So the first thing we need to do is get some information on them and just kind of get the lay of the land, see what they're like here. So what better way than to go there yourself and learn about them.
Interesting sigh and hop and all that as we walk. Muttering to himself on his
Happy
breath.
thoughts.
Muttering to himself, I should have stayed with people eating dragon.
Yeah. So you can walk into the door to the grand hall of Ouijas. Rows of pews, pillars lining the walls. The walls are decorated with these murals of the life and death of a great wizard, you know, his birth, his childhood, his study, his research as an adult, through to old age, teaching other students, passing away at death and finding himself in the great research halls of Ouijas. And then on the floor is on its base a fine square white tile until you get to the middle where there is this massive holy symbol of Ouijas tiled in blue and red and black.
Very slowly reaches into my bag of holding, pulls out ink pen, and paper, and starts to jot down notes.
And
As I'm just looking around and everything.
a woman will come up and say, "Welcome. How may we help you?"
1 second. You have another link, I think. Right there. Right in the middle. You just want to tell. Oh. I see what you leaking. My apologies.
You're welcome.
Hello. I was just wanting to see. I'm new to town, and I just heard that your guys' temple was the biggest and the grandest in town. I kind of wanted to see it for myself.
Well, the grandeur is a little bit decayed presently. She says the whole thing is very grand. The murals need to be touched up, and we think we need to retile the floor. It doesn't shimmer as it once did. We're shutting down next month for a few months to get things set up again. If you'd like, Calmus is going to be leading prayers in a moment.
Oh. Thanks, Tigre. Well, time to learn how the other side does things, so I might be able to take something back that I can use for Operation Pelor Takeover. Nothing.
There's nothing. Between you and Orious, I'm probably just gonna say fuck it and join something else. It's like the two of you.
Go ahead and take a seat wherever.
What the hell? I'm curious about this.
The temple fills up with some fairly well-to-do merchants and such.
I'm just imagining this paladin in Pelor's golden armor with Pelor's runes and such just sitting here.
Yes. And as he comes out, with a book and a little stand, Calmus will actually put it down and then walk right over to you and go, it's good to see you. There's a great need for solidarity amongst the churches in Cauldron for the interest of the city. Welcome.
Not slightly. I agree. Better that we can serve all of our needs as we see fit.
He says, wonderful. And as he comes, he stands up and he walks to stand behind the podium. And he begins, this is very kind of formal Catholic Mass sort of opening. Stand, give praise to the Dark Mother who drives magic through the world and welcomes our souls and guides them to the afterlife, sort of thing. And as he's doing this, you notice, the preaching is much more upon the image of the Dark Mother as someone who manages the flow of souls after death and who, takes the power of the gods and makes it accessible to men as magic.
Yeah, Ouijas is not an evil goddess, right?
No, Ouijas is a neutral goddess.
She's like Pharasma-esque?
So she's more of a goddess of magic and necromancy. Essentially, she's a goddess of magic, and since the god of evil in Greyhawk is a massive, I want to kill everything douchebag, she just kind of went, I'll handle that, so we don't have to deal with him.
Okay.
So death is very much the secondary aspect here.
Okay.
But unlike Pharasma, she has no problem with undead.
Okay.
In fact, she's kind of the favored goddess of necromancers.
Okay. Would I know what her and Pelor's relationship might be like? From my own church?
Make a knowledge religion check. Well, you know that she tends to kind of butt heads a little with Pelor on occasion because she's kind of, because Pelor really hates the undead. And she goes, well, if we don't embrace them, they'll just all go to Nerul, and we don't want that. So, but beyond that, they don't have a terrible relationship.
Okay.
But as he does his preaching and speaking, there's a moment that they pass around collection plates. Of note, it's not for the service of the good, it's for the maintenance of the temple, and they say that. It's kind of a, well, people die, who cares, sort of attitude. And there's quite a few people who put in silver and gold into this. There's an excellent revenue stream. There's a lot of wealthy people here.
Okay.
And Calmus begins to sermon, as happens at a point. And when he sermons, he immediately walks down the stairs and points an arm over towards you, and he says, "Here with us today is the Golden Knight of Pelor, God of the sun, God of healing, who has struck us all by storm this last week, walking amongst the poor, healing the sick. And he is an excellent reminder to us that we do not live in a world of one God, issuing decrees from above, but of many gods, with different interests, all of whom contribute to the world in which we live. So, while we do not care particularly for the poor here, I feel it is important from time to time to remember that death is not the antithesis to life. It is the ending of this phase of life in this world and the transition to the next one. And while we are here, we should seek union and brotherhood. If you see someone in need and you can afford it, do as our golden son of Pelor and aid them. And when they pass, we will care for them as we always have. Remember, magic is the heart of the world, magic is the flow of the world, and it is within the power of every human being to reach out, grasp those reins, and have control over their own lives and destiny. And then the whole thing continues, very Catholic Mass. And at the end, there's a ritualistic recession of Calmus and his assistants back into the rear of the whole place. And the people begin to stand up and mingle as they do. But yes, you do get the sense that you just sat here and this guy's sermon was essentially, oh yeah, Pelor exists. Give them money sometimes too.
That's kind of classic Dirk. Okay, I know super evil lich in training. I gotta admit, good with words though.
To which the man next to you goes, "Oh, I wouldn't call Calmus evil. Creepy, certainly. But he's a nice enough man."
Right, yes. It's like, I just think of like, how can you describe, I just detected overwhelming evil from the...
Yeah.
And he's turning into a lich. To followers, like, crap.
Yeah. Well.
More just my joke with him.
Yeah.
I met him yesterday, or no, I met him 2 days ago.
At this point, it's been probably about a week since we first met him.
I met him about a week ago. He was a fairly interesting fellow when he showed up at the Church of Pelor.
Yes, the church put in an order for cure potions to keep on hand. They do try to do that on occasion.
Maybe try and take over as much of the healing duties as I can for them.
Yes, well, just don't drive all of us who make healing potions out of business.
I don't plan to. I'm just trying to help those who can't afford it at all.
He nods and he gives you a little shake of the hand and says, well, try to make sure you can tell when they can afford it.
No, it's like,
Heads out. There's kind of, you get a little bit of coldness of, oh, those Paylor people.
Mm-hmm. So, once we're done here, I'm going to kind of subtly nudge Dirk so we can go out.
Yeah, Dirk has probably just spent this entire time fast asleep.
Oh.
I was jotting down notes while he was talking.
Dirk's half a mind to just join like the third, like one of the other religious parties that is like or rising.
Yeah.
Once we're done here, I'd probably head to the Ashway.
Okay.
And get to work there. Dirk, you gonna come along to make sure I don't do anything bad?
Regrettably.
Come on, Dirk. What's the worst that could happen?
So, on Ash Lane, kind of the talk of the town is, oh, Turcival and Skellereg are going to have their duel tomorrow morning. Everyone's, very excited. Public duels are rare. They're both great swordsmen. It'll be a wonderful duel.
Dirk is also excited. Can be. That's Josh McClure would do.
Yeah.
He does like his a very good duel.
And then the big question is, otherwise there's nothing really of note that we need to mention that hasn't happened again and again. The question is, are you going to attend the duel at the Temple of Cord?
Oh, yes.
As you come in, they actually usher Orious to one of the places of honor alongside the other temple leaders. As you come in, does Dirk come to the duel?
Yes.
Does Turvu come to the duel?
That's a good question. Would Dirk or Orious tell Turvu about the duel?
Probably I might mention it when we're relaxing.
Yeah. His friend, the High Priest of Cord, would also come and tell him about it.
Yeah, Dirk will come.
Heck, Tonatium's probably also going to be there. Because, let's face it, this is important politics. Tonatium doesn't miss important politics. In fact, Tonatium and Orious get positions of honor. Dirk and Turvu kind of have to go sit among the crowd. Actually, Turvu would probably be taken with his friend, the guy of Cord, over to like the officiator's box because that's his friend. He wants to sit next to him during the game. Leaving Dirk kind of all on his lonesome, surrounded by the other alley bashers in the public seats. And the center of the Temple of Cord is essentially a great big wrestling rink. It's not a very Christian place, so to speak. But yeah. As things go you see Terce and Skellerang walk into the middle of the rink. He's wearing pants and no shirt and has a wooden sword, which you get told by the people around you is what the Temple of Cord insists people use for official duels. And the time for the duel arrives. and Alec doesn't show up. And after an hour or two, Orious comes out and goes, "Eh."
Can I offer to take his place in the duel?
No, actually. Like, you can't, you can offer, but the nobles are going to go, that's not how the law works. Now Faris will go, Alec doesn't show, Alec forfeits. The honor of the guard is restored. To which the alley bashers are like, what? Like, most of the crowd's like, what? What are you doing? But the noblemen go, Alec must have uncovered something that showed his accusation is false. This is an honorable way to let that go. But, yeah. Alec doesn't show up.
Is, what's the name there?
Jenya?
Yeah.
Jenya Orious is there. She's sitting with you in that area, and Jenya looks a little nervous.
Yeah, I'm going to try to move over to her and whisper to her quietly, this doesn't seem like him at all. I don't think he would miss this unless something happened to him.
No, he wouldn't. Knowing Alec, if he had found something to accept himself, something to show he was wrong, he would have shown up here and knelt before Skelrag in the ring and surrendered. This is not right.
Something's wrong.
Something is wrong indeed. And I think that's where we'll end it for the day. Thoughts? Yeah, that's the things going on in the stands. Is what do you mean? There's no duel? But yeah, questions, comments, concerns.
This was really fun.
This is fun. This one is a big dick blow with Orious.
This shows Orious actually really likes Dirk in my head, but he also really likes messing with Dirk too.
Dirk has had a mind of joining the religion that the dueling arena religion just to slay him.
The temple of lordly might.
Yeah.
Followers of Cord, god of strength and competition, where their religious services are literally naked wrestling matches.
Even though Dirk has absolutely no strength, he's dexterity.
Also, dear God. Oh, one of the things Orious would want to do during the break time is go to the temple and wrestle.
Sure. One thing that Orious will learn there is that not everyone at the temple is strong. And that the high priest is not the strongest person in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually one of the weaker guys in the temple as far as physical strength is concerned. But they pair up, they wrestle, they cheer, they heal up any injuries, they give praise for the spirit of competition.
So I assume Dirk would also participate in wrestling.
Yeah, it would be combat maneuver rolls, so depending on how you statted yourself out, those might actually be fairly good.
11 CMB, 27. So I'm pretty hard to hit.
Yeah, so you're actually going to fairly consistently win your wrestling bouts.
I have a CMB of 28 and a CMB of plus 15.
Yeah. So we're opposite sides of the company.
Yeah, you two are definitely in like the top 4 or top 5 wrestlers. There is one more person there who you two don't know, who you may become friends with, who is a follower of Cord, who is also in those top levels. Miss Cora Lathenmeyer.
It's the one that actually likes her.
Okay, do you know what that sermon really made me think of and put in my head to crave again? I blame you.
What?
Mage. You made me think of mage with that.
I am working on something that I might want to run in Mage that takes place in the 1920s. But I do want to finish this because I haven't finished a campaign since college.
Oh yeah.
So
Also, I have something that might make you guys chuckle a little bit.
Would either Orious or Dirk have gone against Cora?
Sure. Do you guys want to do that real quick?
Sure.
See which of us all you think the best of that?
Let me find Cora's current level stats. Because she's one of those people that levels up over time. Okay.
Mattress.
So, she is currently going to be that. Okay. So she is going to have that situation. So, yeah, who's going to want to wrestle with her first?
You can.
Alright then.
So we'll have an initiative roll, which is going to be... So she gets to attempt to come at you first. Yep. Okay, you get a chance to break it because it's grab pin. So she's grabbed you. Yep. That doesn't quite do it. So she comes and attempts to pin you.
Which she does not.
Okay, so the two of you are wrestling. She's got the upper hand, but she hasn't quite managed to pin you back. Are you gonna try and flip her around again? Get in the upper hand? And you do. So you've taken the wrestling, you've gotten her to the upper hand. So she's at this point screaming, "You fucking chicken." She attempts to flip it back around again. Does she?
It's my CMD.
Yeah.
Then
Yes. Then
just barely.
she's flipped it back around. This is the very even match. People cheering up in the stands.
I'll have to flip it around again.
You don't. And she does not get the pin.
Flip it around. No.
Nope. She still mostly keeps the upper hand, but she can't get the pin.
Trying to slippery.
You just barely fail.
So here's CMD 26.
Yep. And then we start rolling badly. Oh, you flip it around on her.
I flip it around.
She flips it right back.
No. I flip it around. She did not flip it back. That's reading it.
Can you pin? Can you follow through and pin? Barely not.
She flipped it back.
She flips it back. Doesn't keep it that way.
Literally. She flips it.
Yeah. You two are just locked in wrestling. And no, she doesn't get the pin.
She got the pin.
Finally, after all of that wrestling, just the fact that she has rolling brute strength to back up the skill, she hits you to the ground. And just stands up, breathing and stretching.
It was a fun wrestling match.
Yeah. And she, brushes her head and turns to the other challenger. Is her eyes gonna take it?
Yep.
Initiative roll. Just to see who gets that first chance to start the grapple.
Not me.
She steps off immediately and just grabs you. You were not, in a way you were not expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the funny part. Mine is down. Yours is, you have an easier time breaking free.
Yeah. So that's get that combat maneuver roll. See if you can switch it around.
Okay.
Unless you want her critical hit to be an automatic, she gets you, she picks you up, she slams you down, but no. No, you swap it around. She swaps it back.
Maybe I was swapping. CMD 15.
So it's up to you again. Oh, you don't get it back. Does she get it back with 23?
No.
Alright, so it's all tight and tear. She hasn't quite got the pin. You flip it back. She flips it back again. The crowd is going wild as these two rippling, muscular, naked forms meet in the rink. She just cannot follow through. I'm rolling so badly. Next one. Will you flip it or will she pin you?
Let's do this.
The answer is you don't flip and she doesn't pin. She's got the upper hand. Maybe Orious likes it. I don't know.
I feel like I'm home.
And then she finally gets the pin. And stands up and roars and walks out of the place. Current undefeated champion of the temple.
With Dirk and Orias right behind her.
Wow.
11.
Ow.
She is
She's
also
probably a better duelist than me too.
she's definitely got a bunch of strength.
Yeah, she got 1 duelist 11. To the power 10 and swashbuckler 10.
Yep. And Tom, don't worry about your theory. I'm sure it's all fine.
I know who it is.
Dirk has a new place to hang out now. That's something to look forward.
As important to note, these are not like pro wrestling matches. These are like high school wrestling matches.
Yeah.
Actually test skill.
Mm-hmm. Which is what Dirk has. He has a lot of skill, not a lot of strength.
Well, we leave you there. There's not any XP for this session, but that's fine. And you've also officially gotten into Chapter 5.
Yay.
Yeah.
As we've gone through the first event of Chapter 5. Next time... him flaking on the duel. Next time, will Tonatium be here? We'll find out.
If not, we can have more shenanigans with Dirk. Alright?
If not, well, maybe Dirk and Orious will become the great heroes and Tonatium will retire.
That's Tonatium teleports in after we done him.
Maybe Dirk will join the Cherokee Court.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.